Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So we all know that using high quality, beautiful imagery for our book covers is absolutely key in order to grab the attention of a potential customer who's searching for similar books in your niche. But finding really beautiful imagery at an affordable price that also comes with a hassle-free license can sometimes be a little bit of a drag. Now, I've recently become familiar with Creative Fabrica, and I've been very, very impressed with their huge selection of fonts and graphics that they offer under their full print-on-demand license. They've got over 22,000 fonts and over 14,000 graphics under their full print-on-demand license, and they're adding new content every single day. Now, this full print-on-demand license that they offer is absolutely ideal for low-content publishers for a couple of reasons. Firstly, you can use all of these assets as is. You don't have to make any modifications whatsoever. The other great thing is there are no limits to how many units that you sell of whatever the item is that you're putting their graphics on. So with some of the other websites out there, you might only be able to sell a certain amount of units before you have to upgrade to a new license. That's not the case with Creative Fabrica's full print-on-demand license. So I'm going to flip the screen now. I'm going to give you a brief tour of the Creative Fabrica website, as well as their different licensing options. I'm going to show you a couple of different examples really briefly of how you can use their images. And make sure you stick around for the end because Creative Fabrica has put together a really stellar deal for you guys, just for you, so you're not going to want to miss that. All right, now here we are on the Creative Fabrica website. As you can see, we've got options for fonts, graphics, crafts, tools, print on demand, and bundles. So let's take a quick peek at the fonts here. As I said, they've got over 22,000 really high quality fonts, and they've been nicely organized into all of these different types of fonts here. So let's just quickly click on one here just to give you a little bit of a look. So these are some examples of some of the display fonts. Quite a big variety here. So let's just go ahead and click on one and take a quick peek. What I love with all of these fonts is they've given you a few different examples of how you can use them so you can get a real sense of how the font is actually going to look on your design before you've actually downloaded it. Now, all of their fonts include their commercial license, so these can be used on anything you want. You never have to worry about using any of the fonts for print on demand that you download from this website. Let's go ahead and look at one or two more. So these are some script and handwritten fonts. So let's go ahead and click inside another one of them here and just take a quick peek. Again, they provide some nice context here, actually showing the font in action, showing how it will look within an actual design, which is super helpful. And obviously, if you are interested in this font, you just have to click this green download button. So the main difference between crafts and graphics is that the crafts are created by Creative Fabrica's in-house designers, and the graphics are created by their community of designers. So when you click on graphics, it's sectioned off into patterns, icons, textures, logos, illustrations, backgrounds. So let's just take a quick peek at the illustrations. Now, when you're browsing in the graphics department, just take note. Let's just click on one right here. Now, as you can see, commercial usage is allowed. However, if you're looking for the full print-on-demand license, it's going to say that here if it has it. Now, where you're most likely going to be looking at is the print on demand. So we'll get to that in just a second. Now, firstly, they've got their tools. So they've got Font Cloud, which is their own font management system. And they've got a couple of these other tools, which I won't get into now, but they're just nice little additions that you can check out on your own. Now, what we're most interested in here is their print on demand heading. Now, everything under the print on demand heading here has their full print-on-demand license. So again, if you're looking at images under their graphics or their crafts, that includes everything they've got on the website. Some of them have the full print-on-demand license, some of them don't, so you will have to take a look on each individual image if it says full print-on-demand. If it doesn't, then it's just covered under the basic print-on-demand. And I'll get into the difference between full and basic in just a couple of minutes. But for your purposes, most likely you're just going to be wanting the full print-on-demand license. So you can just stick under this heading here and you'll be fine. So you can see there's over 14,000 full print-on-demand graphics. And they've also got all of their fonts, so 22,000 fonts. Now you can just search for whatever you're looking for here, or just feel free to browse. So since Valentine's Day is kind of right around the corner, let's look and see what they've got for that. All right, so I've searched Valentine's Day. Now I'm just interested in graphics for the time being, so let's just click on that. That will get rid of all the fonts. And then you can go down the list of categories here and just pick exactly what you're looking for. So let's go ahead and choose illustrations, and we'll check out Valentine's cats. All right, again, they actually take the time to show everything in context here, show how it would actually look on a printed piece, which is great. Just really helpful in visualizing your own design. Now let's go ahead and download that, and we'll take a peek at the elements inside the file. Now, one thing I've really loved when I've been downloading graphics so far from Creative Fabrica is a lot of times when you're downloading stock imagery, usually all you get is a JPEG and then an EPS. But what I've noticed is that each one of these zip files that I download is full of all kinds of goodies here. So we've got all of the clip art in JPEG and PNG format. So all of the different elements here, all separated. Won't go down the whole list. And then they've got another folder of the frames that they've used. Again, we've got JPEG and PNG format. And we've got an EPS file here as well, so you can go in and actually edit that in a vector editing program. So obviously, if you just want to use these images as is, you can use the JPEGs. There's also the high-res PNGs here. And then if you actually want to go in and edit it, you can open up that EPS file in a program like Illustrator or Affinity Designer. Now, apart from the frames, they've also got these patterns. And again, you've got this in EPS format as well as JPEG and PNG. So these are seamless patterns that you can use to create patterned backgrounds. Now here we've got an EPS file of all the individual elements, so you'd be able to use those in any combination that you want. So the really cool thing is you just get a lot of different options. You can just use some of these as is in their already created compositions. So for example, you could just use this as a composition and just put that right into your book on the cover or anywhere else that you wanted it. Or if you wanted to play around and create something custom, then you could open up this EPS file and you can just start combining all of the different assets in whatever combination you wanted to. So that's what I really love about this. It just gives you so many different options. Now let's go ahead and talk about the different licensing options here. So they do have a few different options when it comes to the subscriptions. So firstly, you could just make a single purchase of a font or a graphic. So if you only want one, you can go ahead and just make a one-time purchase for whatever the font or the graphic is that you want. If this is something you're going to be using all the time, then I definitely recommend one of their subscriptions. Now, they've got a few different subscriptions here, but if you want the full print-on-demand license, then you're definitely going to want to go for the all-access subscription. Now, the regular price for this subscription is $29 a month. But as I said at the beginning, Creative Fabrica has put together a great deal for you guys, and that is 30% off. 30% off every month, indefinitely for as long as you're a member. So at this price, that's a little over $18 a month, and that's a very worthwhile investment to ensure that you have access to thousands of graphics and fonts that can be used under a full print-on-demand license, that you're never going to have to worry about how many units you're selling, how much you're modifying the image. You can just use it completely as is with no modifications, or you can modify it however you want. This really is the best license out there, in my opinion. Now, in case you're wondering what the difference between their basic print-on-demand and their full print-on-demand licenses are, let's take a look at that. Now, the main difference here between the basic print-on-demand license and the full print-on-demand license is that with the basic print-on-demand license, you've got to modify the image before you use it. So here's a little bit of an example of that. So this is the original design right here. And what you can't do is just, in your case, create a book and just put this image as is on the cover. You'd have to modify it somehow. So you can see how they've done so in this example. They've basically just given it some color and added a little bit of a watercolor wash in the background. And, it's not much of a distinction, but it's enough that it's not exactly like the original. So that's what you can do with the basic print-on-demand. With the full print-on-demand license, you can just use the file completely as is with no modifications whatsoever. So once again, if you're searching for graphics or crafts, you're going to have to pay attention to which graphics or crafts actually have the full print-on-demand license, or My advice is to just always be looking under this Print on Demand tab, and everything under that tab is going to fall under the full Print on Demand license. And again, with the all access description, you're getting the full Print on Demand license. Now, what happens if you've created some designs and you're now selling them as books on KDP, but you want to cancel your subscription? What happens then? Now, if your designs have been modified, if you haven't just used the actual design without any modifications whatsoever, that's going to then continue to fall under the basic Print on Demand license, and you can keep selling it. However, if you've used the design without any modifications, you've got two things that you can do. The first one is you edit that design, make some modifications, and then it will fall under the basic Print on Demand license, and you can keep selling that design. Or if you've used it as is with no modifications, you can just purchase the single-use license for that image, and again, you can just keep selling it as is. Or if you don't want to do either of those two things, then you've got to take the book down. So those are your options if you decide you want to cancel your subscription later on and you don't want to take the book down. Now, I've left links in the description below where you can fully read all of the terms of their licensing, whether it's single use and the various subscription plans, basic Print on Demand versus full Print on Demand. So make sure you go ahead and familiarize yourself with all of those. Now let's go ahead and look at a couple of really quick examples of a file that I've downloaded, and I'm going to show you one example where I'm just using a file completely as is with no modifications, and another one where I'm going to make a few different modifications. This is just going to be really quick. It's not going to be a full tutorial, but just so you can get a glimpse of the two different scenarios here. All right, so I've gone ahead and downloaded this really cute Koalas in Love bundle. Valentine's is around the corner, so I'm keeping that as my theme. And again, I just love how they show all of these different design elements in context and how they'll actually look in print. I think that's really, really helpful. Commercial and full Print on Demand usage allowed. So that means I can just use these files completely as is with no modifications, or I can modify them if I want. Now again, I've downloaded this file and look at all of the different elements it comes with. So we've got all of our EPS files, including a JPEG. So these are the different elements. We've got all the koalas here as single elements. And then in this other folder, we've got the EPS compositions. Again, we've got the JPEG, so we can just take a quick peek here. So these are compositions that you can just use as is without editing at all. Got a nice pattern here. And there they all are together. Then we've got a folder full of the PNGs, and then we've also got PSDs. So this is going to be great for if I want to do some custom work on any of these. I've got access to the PSD files that I'm going to be able to open up and just play around with all the different layers. So that is really helpful if I want to actually do some customizations here. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. All right, so I've opened up an InDesign file here. I've created a 6x9 cover. Now, obviously, when you're doing your cover, you're going to be using a cover template, so you're going to be seeing the back, the front, and the spine. But for these purposes, I've just got this 6x9 cover just to show you what the front cover could look like. Now for this, I'm going to go straight into the EPS compositions. So these are pre-composed designs, so I can just plunk right onto my cover and use without any modifications. You can use the EPS or the JPEG. Remember, a JPEG is going to have a white background against it. So if you want to include a colored background, I would go for the EPS. If you do want a white background, then you can just use the JPEG. All right, so I've placed that in there. I'll just play around with the sizing really quickly, make it a little bit bigger. So it looks like this EPS also has a white background attached. That's okay, we're not going to worry about that for now. If we wanted to, we could go into the EPS file in a vector editing software and just remove that, so that's no big deal. Now this image is basically ready to go, so we're just going to want to add a little bit of a title here, so let's go ahead and do that. Now I'm going to do a title on a little bit of an arc, so I'm going to use my pen tool. And just create a slight arc there, just to add a little bit of interest. Grab my type on a path tool. All right, now obviously we don't want to leave that like that, so I'm going to use a font that I also downloaded from Creative Fabrica. And I always like to put my kerning to optical. I just find it spaces things out a little bit more naturally. Let's go ahead and play around with the size here, get that right. Now I can see that this typography needs to be tracked in a little bit. Big pet peeve of mine is when people use script writing and they don't track it in. So you can see here how none of the letters are actually attached, which of course should be the case with real handwriting. So let's go ahead and just track that in slightly. There, that's looking better, but now we need to just bump up the size again a little bit. All right, I'm just going to center that, and I will just quickly add some color to that. Let's go with this dark part of the heart here. So I've just used my eyedropper tool. Now generally for a book cover, I'd probably want to put this on a little bit more of a colored background. I'm not a huge fan of just a straight white background, but I just wanted to give you an example of just using an image as is with no modifications whatsoever. So I've simply just added a title here. If this was a notebook, you might want to put that down here, a daily journal, whatever you wanted. You could put that in there as well, either on the spine or also on the front cover. Now I'm going to show you an example of how you can just do some quick modifications to come up with something that's truly custom. So for that, we're going to head over to Photoshop and make use of those PSD files that this zip file came with. So again, I've just created a 6x9 cover. I haven't gone into the back cover, the spine, because I just want this to be really quick. So first what I'm going to want to do is head over to my file, and I'm going to open the PSD file that I want to borrow from. All right, so here's one of the koala files. And as you can see over here, I've got access to all the different layers. So I'm just going to click on that. I've got the crown, the head, the arm, the claws. So that's really helpful for me. Now what I want to do is I want to copy that over to my actual cover file. So I'm going to click on both because I want the cloud as well. And I'm going to duplicate the layers and send that over to my new file. Right, so now I've got my koalas there, and I'm going to need to resize that obviously. So let's just do that. All right, let's just leave that for now. Now, as I said, I don't generally like to have a white background, so let's use one of the backgrounds that are available in that folder. Now, the backgrounds are in an EPS file, so I'm going to go ahead and open that up with Illustrator. And I'm going to choose one of these backgrounds. I'll have to ungroup them because they're all grouped together here. And I like that one, so I'm just going to copy that and paste it directly into my Photoshop file. And I'm going to paste that as a smart object. Now I'm just going to resize that. Now this koala is set up to be holding something, so let's go ahead and see what we can pick out. So again, this is another one of the EPS files here. I'm just going to pick this bouquet. And I'm going to copy and paste that again into my Photoshop file here. And resize it. Now, obviously that doesn't look right because it's sitting behind the arm, but this is where the cool stuff comes in. I'm going to open up that koala file, and I'm going to drag this in between the right layers. All right, so there, I put it behind that hand layer, and now it actually looks like the koala is holding the bouquet of flowers. So I like that. But I don't have much room for a title here, so I'm just going to go ahead and play around a little bit more with the sizing. All right, now I can just quickly add a title here. And I'm going to use the exact same font that I used before. I'm going to fix the tracking and let's change the color. That looks like it could be tracked out just a little bit more, or tracked in rather. And I think I'll just extend that background a little bit more. All right, so there you have it. That's a super quick example, but I just wanted to show you the different capabilities you've got with each of these image packs and your ability to use a design as is with no modifications versus actually having all of the different assets available to you to create as many different combinations as you want. Now, the image pack I just downloaded here, I mean, you saw how many different elements were included. So you could create quite a few different book covers with just this one illustration package. So the options and all the different capabilities you've got within each image pack here, that's where the real value is, in my opinion. So again, I know that was super quick and this wasn't exactly a tutorial, but I just wanted to show you the different capabilities and the options that you would have with each of these image downloads. Well, there you have it. Now, as promised, Creative Fabrica has put together a really stellar deal for you guys. They are offering you their all-access subscription at 30% off their regular price. Now, this is an amazing deal, and this discount will continue for as long as you are a member. This is not 30% off the first month or the second month or whatever. This is 30% off every single month indefinitely for as long as you are a member of the Creative Fabrica All Access subscription. So just check out the link in the description below and use the coupon code that I've also included in that description as well, and you'll be able to get that discount. So I really hope you guys enjoy it. Definitely check it out, browse around, take a look at the amazing graphics that they've got available and fonts, and definitely take advantage of that discounted subscription. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.